coming at you from the North Georgia mountains this evening. Uh, this presentation coming up is piggybacking off of that video I told you about the chemicals in plants, the oxalates and alkaloids and other chemicals that cause inflammation. Here's some in-depth information that I want you to watch and find out exactly what I'm talking about. Let's dive in.
Surprising plant compounds that trigger inflammation. Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the world of plant compounds that can trigger inflammation, especially in those with sensitivities or allergies. We often think of plants as being entirely beneficial to our health. And while they offer a plethora of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, some of their compounds can actually provoke unwanted inflammatory responses in the body. For those on the carnivore diet, it's essential to be aware of these compounds. This journey will help you understand why swearing off plant-based foods might be beneficial for you. We'll be exploring specific plant compounds, their potential effects, and what you need to know to make informed choices for your health. Remember, knowledge is power, and by understanding these compounds, you can empower yourself to make dietary and lifestyle choices that support your overall well-being and help minimize inflammation in your body. Let's get started. Lectins, the sticky troublemakers. Let's start with lectins. Lectins are proteins found in plants that have this interesting ability to bind to carbohydrates. Now, that might not sound too intimidating, but this binding action can actually interfere with the digestive process. You see, our digestive system relies on a smooth breakdown and absorption of nutrients. However, when lectins latch onto the lining of our gut, they can disrupt this delicate balance. This disruption can lead to a whole host of digestive discomforts, especially for those with pre-existing sensitivities. We're talking about bloating, gas, and even changes in bowel movements. In more sensitive individuals, lectins can even trigger an immune response, leading to inflammation in the gut. Foods high in lectins include beans, lentils, grains, and even some fruits and vegetables, like tomatoes and potatoes. Phytates, the mineral mavens. Next up, we have phytates, also known as phytic acid. Now, phytates are often referred to as anti-nutrients, and you'll see why in a moment. They have this interesting characteristic of binding to minerals like magnesium, calcium, and zinc. While that might not seem like a big deal on the surface, think about what those minerals are essential for. Bone health, nerve function, enzyme activity, you name it. The problem arises when phytates bind to these minerals in the digestive tract. This binding can actually inhibit their absorption into the bloodstream, potentially leading to mineral deficiencies over time. And why is that a problem when we're talking about inflammation? Well, mineral imbalances can actually contribute to inflammation throughout the body. Foods high in phytates include beans, grains, nuts, and seeds. Oxalates, the kidney conundrum. Now, let's talk about oxalates. Oxalates are naturally occurring compounds found in many plant foods. While they don't pose a threat to everyone, they can be problematic for individuals who are prone to kidney stones. You see, oxalates can bind to calcium in the urine, and when there's an excess of oxalates, it can lead to the formation of these painful calcium oxalate stones. But how do oxalates relate to inflammation? Well, kidney stones themselves can cause intense pain and inflammation in the urinary tract. For those who are susceptible, even small increases in oxalate intake can exacerbate these issues. Common sources of oxalates include spinach, beets, rhubarb, tea, and even chocolate. Saponins, the gut irritators. Moving on to saponins. Saponins are another group of compounds found in a variety of plants. They get their name from their soap-like properties, and while that might sound harmless, they can actually irritate the gut lining in some individuals. Imagine saponins like tiny detergents poking at the delicate cells of your digestive system. For those with sensitive guts, this irritation can manifest as bloating, gas, diarrhea, and even abdominal pain. In more severe cases, saponins can even increase intestinal permeability, also known as leaky gut, which can further contribute to inflammation throughout the body. Foods high in saponins include beans, lentils, quinoa, and even some herbs and spices. Gluten, the infamous protein. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, gluten. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye, and it's gained quite a reputation for its inflammatory potential, especially for those with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity. In individuals with celiac disease, consuming gluten triggers an autoimmune response that attacks the lining of the small intestine. This immune response leads to severe inflammation and damage to the gut, resulting in a wide range of symptoms, including digestive distress, nutrient deficiencies, and even autoimmune complications. For those with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, the reaction to gluten is less severe, but can still involve inflammation in the gut and other parts of the body. Alkaloids, the joint jerks. Next, we have alkaloids, a diverse group of compounds found in plants like coffee, tea, and even some vegetables. While alkaloids have a range of effects on the body, some of them have been linked to joint inflammation, especially in those with pre-existing conditions like arthritis. It's thought that certain alkaloids can trigger an immune response that targets the joints, leading to pain, stiffness, and swelling. Now, it's important to note that not all alkaloids are created equal, and research on their effects on joint inflammation is still ongoing. However, if you're prone to joint pain, it might be worth paying attention to your intake of alkaloid-containing foods and see if you notice any connections. FODMAPs, the fermentation frustration. Let's talk about FODMAPs, which stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Quite a mouthful, right? These are essentially types of carbohydrates that are poorly absorbed in the small intestine. And guess what happens when they reach the large intestine? They become food for the bacteria residing there. Now, while we need a healthy balance of gut bacteria, this fermentation process can produce gas and other byproducts that can cause digestive distress and even trigger inflammation in the gut. This is especially true for individuals with irritable bowel syndrome, who are particularly sensitive to the effects of FODMAPs. Salicylates, the sensitive reactor. Next up are salicylates. Salicylates are naturally occurring compounds found in a variety of plants, and they're actually chemically similar to aspirin. While they offer benefits like pain relief and anti-inflammatory properties, they can also cause problems for some people. You see, salicylates are involved in the body's inflammatory response. While that's usually a good thing, in individuals who are sensitive to salicylates, exposure to these compounds can trigger an overreaction of the immune system, leading to symptoms like headaches, skin rashes, and even respiratory problems. Common sources of salicylates include fruits like berries and citrus fruits, vegetables like tomatoes and peppers, and even some herbs and spices. Histamines, the allergic avengers. Finally, let's talk about histamines. Histamines are chemicals that play a role in the body's immune response, particularly in allergic reactions. When we encounter an allergen, our bodies release histamine, which causes blood vessels to dilate and become more permeable. This leads to the classic symptoms of an allergic reaction: sneezing, itching, watery eyes, and inflammation. Some foods naturally contain histamines, and for those with histamine intolerance, consuming these foods can trigger similar reactions. This intolerance occurs when there's an imbalance between the production of histamine and the body's ability to break it down. Foods high in histamines include aged cheeses, fermented foods, processed meats, and even some fruits and vegetables. Reducing inflammation through awareness. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more informative content. Stay healthy, and see you next time. Remember that everyone's tolerance to these compounds varies. What causes inflammation in one person might be perfectly fine for another. If you suspect you might have a sensitivity to any of the compounds we discussed, it's always best to consult with a healthcare professional for proper diagnosis and guidance. They can help you determine if an elimination diet or other interventions might be beneficial for you.